What if I told you that right now, somewhere on this earth, the ground remembers something you don't? There are places you can walk on today, take pictures at, post online, and have no idea that the dirt under your shoes once swallowed an entire civilization in a single morning. Not a slow decline, not a war that dragged on for years. A morning. People woke up, made their tea, argued with their spouse, worried about money, and by sunset, they were gone. All of them. And Allah didn't do it quietly. He told us exactly why, in His own words, so that 1400 years later, you and I would have no excuse to say we didn't know. I want to walk you through this slowly, because most people skim past these stories, like they're ancient history, like they're bedtime tales with a moral lesson stapled to the end. But that's not what these are. These are case files. Allah is showing you the crime and the punishment, back to back, so you can check your own life against it.
Start with Nuh alayhi salam. 950 years he called his people. Not 950 days, years. Surah Al-Ankabut, Ayah 14, tells us this directly. Think about that kind of patience. He wasn't preaching to strangers. He was preaching to his own family, his own neighbors, people he grew old in front of. And what was the sin that finally sealed their fate? It wasn't murder. It wasn't theft. It was refusal. Flat, stubborn refusal to even consider that they might be wrong.
Surah Nuh describes them putting their fingers in their ears and covering their faces with their garments so they wouldn't have to hear him, Ayah 7. That image should sit with you for a second. Grown men physically blocking their ears from the truth because looking at it, even for a moment, felt like too much of a threat to their way of life. Allah didn't destroy them for being weak. He destroyed them for being certain. Certain that they knew better than the one who created them. Now go to Ad, the people of Hud.
These weren't primitive people struggling to survive. Surah Al-Fajr, Ayah 7-8, calls them Iram, of the lofty pillars, the likes of which had never been created in the land. This was a civilization built like nothing before it. Strength, architecture, power. And that's exactly what killed them. Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 69, has them saying almost mockingly, "Who is greater than us in strength?" That single sentence is the whole disease. Not disbelief born from ignorance. Disbelief born from achievement.
They looked at their own buildings, their own bodies, their own bank accounts, basically, and decided they didn't need anyone above them. Ever met someone like that? Successful enough that gratitude starts to feel optional? That's odd sin wearing a different outfit today. Then there's Thamud, and this one hurts differently because the test was so specific. Allah sent them a she-camel as a sign, told them clearly in Surah Ash-Shams, Ayah 13 through Salah, don't touch her, let her drink her turn, don't harm her. One animal, one boundary. That's all that stood between them and destruction. And they killed her anyway. Ayah 14 of that same surah says Allah destroyed them for their sin and leveled the land, and He does not fear its consequence. Read that phrase again. He does not fear its consequence. Meaning there was no negotiation coming, no committee meeting to reconsider. The boundary was clear. They crossed it deliberately, and that was that. How many boundaries has Allah drawn in your life that feel small enough to cross just this once? Now, Lut alayhi salam. This is the one people whisper about instead of studying properly, and that's exactly the wrong response. Surah Al-Araf, Ayah 80-81, records Lut confronting his people directly. You commit such immorality as no one has preceded you with from among the worlds. Not a small deviation. A first, a line no nation before them had crossed. And when the punishment came, it wasn't fire from the sky in the way people imagine. Surah Hud, Ayah 82, says their cities were turned upside down and pelted with stones of hard clay. Marked, Ayah 83 says, from your Lord. Marked. Meaning this wasn't random natural disaster. Every single stone had an address on it. That should terrify you and comfort you at the same time. Terrify you because Allah is that precise. Comfort you because it means nothing that happens to any nation, including this one, is ever an accident. Then Madyan, the people of Shu'aib. And honestly, this is the story I think about the most because it's the most boring sin on the list, which is exactly why it's so dangerous. They weren't worshipping idols made of stone particularly aggressively.
They weren't committing the crimes of Lut's people. Their sin was cheating in business, shortchanging the scale. Surah Al-Mutaffifin opens with a warning about exactly this. Woe to the defrauders, Ayah 1. Those who take full measure when they buy, but give less when they sell, Ayah 2 and 3. Shu'aib told them plainly in Surah Hud, Ayah 85, give full measure and weight in justice. That's it. Just be honest in your dealings. And they refused, called him weak-minded for even suggesting it in Ayah 87, mocking him for tying business to religion, as if money and morality live in separate rooms.
Then came the cry, Surah Hud, Ayah 94. One blast, and by morning they were fallen face down in their homes, lifeless. A civilization erased over unfair scales. Not idols, not murder, scales. Think about that the next time you round a number in your own favor and tell yourself it's too small to matter to Allah. And then Firaun. This one is different because it's not just a nation, it's a single man's ego that dragged an entire empire down with him. He didn't just disbelieve, he stood in front of his people and said, Surah An-Nazi'at, Ayah 24, I am your Lord, Most High.
Not, I don't believe in a God. I am the God. That's the final form of every sin we've talked about so far. News people refused to listen. Ad trusted their own strength. Thamud broke a boundary. Lut's people normalized what no nation had normalized before. Madyan decided money mattered more than honesty. And Firaun took all of that and became the finished product. A man so consumed by his own power that he genuinely believed he had no one to answer to. Surah Yunus, Ayah 90, tells us that even as he was drowning, water closing over his head, he screamed that he believed, that he submitted like the believers. And Allah's response in the very next ayah is one of the most chilling lines in the entire Quran. Now? Now you believe, after you disobeyed before and were of the corruptors? That now should live somewhere in the back of your mind forever. Here's what nobody tells you when they teach these stories as separate, disconnected tales. They're not separate. Trace the thread. Nuh's people refused to hear truth because it threatened their comfort. Ad refused to submit because they trusted their own strength. Thamud broke a direct command because their desire was stronger than their obedience. Lut's people normalized what should have stayed unthinkable because everyone around them was doing it too. Madyan let money override honesty because it felt harmless. Firaun let power convince him he was untouchable. Different centuries, different lands, different languages. Same disease at the core every single time. The refusal to accept that there is someone above you who sees everything and owes you nothing. And here's the part that should actually keep you up tonight. Allah didn't destroy these nations in secret. He put every one of these stories in a book that has been perfectly preserved, word for word, for over 1,400 years, specifically so you would read them. Surah Yusuf, Ayah 111, says it directly. In their stories, there is a lesson for people of understanding. Not a lesson for scholars only. Not a lesson for people back then only. For people of understanding. That includes you, right now, reading this on whatever device you're holding. The Prophet ﷺ is recorded in Sahih Muslim narrating that Allah gives respite to the wrongdoer until when he seizes him, he does not let him escape. He then recited an ayah about the mighty seizure of your Lord when he seizes the cities while they are committing wrong. That's Surah Hud, Ayah 102. Respite, not forgetfulness, not indifference. Respite. Every single nation we just walked through had years, sometimes centuries of warning before the punishment ever arrived. The delay was never mercy in the sense of them being forgotten. It was mercy in the sense of them being given every possible chance to turn back first. So ask yourself honestly, which one of these are you closest to right now? Are you someone who hears the truth and, like news people, finds a reason to look away because changing feels like too much work? Are you leaning on your own strength, like Ad, convinced your success means you don't need to ask anyone for anything? Is there a line Allah has drawn clearly in your life, like the she-camel, that you keep circling closer to, telling yourself it's fine, just this once? Have you normalized something in your circle simply because everyone around you treats it as normal? Do your scales tip in your own favor when nobody's watching? Has any part of you started to feel untouchable? None of these nations thought they were the ones the warning was about. They read the same signs we're reading right now and assumed it applied to someone else, some other people, some other time. That's exactly why it applied to them. And that's exactly why it might apply to you. If any part of this reached you tonight, consider dropping a small support through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. It genuinely helps keep this content free and consistent for everyone. I also just started posting on Instagram, Pinterest, and X simple Islamic reminders you can save and share with someone who needs it today. Links are in the channel bio. Come follow me there. I've also opened a Gumroad shop, so check that out too. It's linked below. And if there's something specific you wish I'd make, tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and I'm genuinely building this around what you need. Right now, I'm also working on something close to my heart, a pocket dua book, small enough to carry everywhere, made for real daily life. It'll be up on Amazon soon, so subscribe and stay close so you don't miss it when it drops.